Welcome to Living Out Loud with Barbara Venezia. My co-host today is Rene Horsch, Public Relations Director at Mark Zunino Couture in Beverly Hills.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey, so this is our first podcast.
Oh, my God, this is so exciting. I can hardly stand it.
I know. You know, Rene and I, for the audience, we met in 2002.
That's right. It was the finale of your show, right?
Right. It was the 10th anniversary of the cooking show that I did. It was a comedy cooking show called At Home on the Range. And we were doing, it was a live broadcast on PBS, KOCE. And they were doing a Home on the Range marathon. And Rene called me out of the blue because you were a cooking show fan and offered to dress me.
Well, back up, rewind just a hair, because it said on that, I was watching, I was a big fan of your show, and I think it popped up one night saying, you know, if you want to come to the finale show, there's a phone number on the screen,
right.
And you can get tickets and this and that. And I thought, I talked with Mark Zunino, who I work with, and Nolan Miller at the time, and I said, you know, there's this cooking show, and there's this crazy redhead. She's like kind of glamorous and all kinds of fun. And I said, we need to dress her because she's a kick and a half. And
well, that was fun. And then I drove up with my little niece. She was like 5 years old, to Beverly Hills, to your showroom. And I said to her, listen, don't tell anybody we did this today, because I was supposed to be babysitting with her. And we walked in, and she was all impressed with everything. And as you brought more dresses in for me to try, you know, I would say to her, does Auntie Barbara's butt look big in this? And she'd go, no, you look like a fairy princess, Auntie Barbara. And then when we got home, of course, she just told everybody how she went to Beverly Hills, had her Beverly Hills manners, and that there was all these really beautiful men. So.
Well, she's very kind. She's very kind. Yeah.
But you dressed me for that episode, and we've been friends ever since. And then in about 4 or 5 years after that, we tried to put a project together, Celebrity Closets.
Yeah, that was like, well, I remember, you know, I had this idea, and I came up with it a long time before I actually met you, but you were the first one that I actually really took. You were the first one to take the idea.
Well, I thought it was a great idea.
I mean,
it was way ahead of its time, because what our concept was, we were going to go into celebrities' closets and find, you know, what they had from what they collected. Some people collected, you know, different types of shoes, what they kept from their performances, whether it be theater or movies or television. And we pitched it to the E! Channel. We got that far.
We did. I was very impressed. That was back in 2005.
Yeah,
it was before the Ryan Seacrest days. If we would have been there with Ryan Seacrest, I know we could have gotten the show.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we were just ahead of our time.
We were ahead of our time, and we pitched it, and then
Do you remember those bozos over there were like, you know, you need to bring us Madonna. You need to bring us Jennifer Lopez. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, Jennifer Lopez and Madonna, they do not need to be on a show like this. However, I would have loved to have welcomed them. Of course, we would have welcomed them.
Right, but we had some great people. I mean, Joan Collins helped us do our little promo.
She did our sizzle reel along with Tina Louise.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Tina
then
Louise from Gilligan's Island.
We had, you said we could go into Donna Mills. I mean, we had Mr. Blackwell was alive then, and he said we could go into his closet. And they said that we had all B-list celebrities. And they didn't want us.
That's right. I'm like, a lot of them were Emmy Award winning and even Academy Award winning. We had Sophia Loren. We had Anne Margaret.
Right.
You know.
And all those gals said that we could go in their closets, and those people didn't like our concept. And it was funny because they were going to give us a holding deal, remember?
Right.
And then it was 4th of July weekend. And when we came back from 4th of July and we called them, everybody who we worked with had gotten fired. So that ended our celebrity closets at the E! Channel. But speaking of Joan Collins, you just came back from a trip with her. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, she has a home in Saint-Tropez. France, in the south of France, and Mark Zunino and I went over there to take Nolan Miller's ashes. Nolan Miller passed away 2 years ago. Nolan was our mentor. He was like a second father figure to us.
Well, he was an incredible designer.
He was an Emmy Award-winning Hollywood costume designer, and his reign of television went from the late 1950s all the way up into the 2000s, and everything that Aaron Spelling produced, Nolan Miller designed the look for all of these television shows.
Even before television, I mean, Joan Crawford, Barbara Stanwyck,
Lana Turner,
yeah, he dressed
Betty
all
Davis.
the greats.
Yeah. He really did, and actually, I'm really fortunate to say that I actually got to help style Lana Turner, Barbara Stanwyck, and Betty Davis. Joan Crawford was already dead before, I got an internship with Nolan Miller back in 1988. So
Because you're just a child.
I'm just a spring child.
Right.
I was 5 years old back then. Yes.
So you go over there with the ashes. I mean, they just let you go on a plane with
Okay,
somebody's
no.
ashes?
Let me.
That's creepy.
No, well, it sounds creepy, but I think everybody that's listening needs to. This is good practical advice. If you want to travel with ashes, which a lot of people do because they want to take their loved ones to other places and scatter their remains, in the Rocky Mountains or wherever. Traveling domestically is actually really difficult. Getting Nolan out of the United States, like we went from Los Angeles to New York, and then we went from New York to London, and then London to Nice, the south of France. Well, London and Nice, they could care less what we were carrying. It was like America. They were like, "Oh, what are you doing? What's in that? A giant bag of cocaine." I mean, like
No, a famous designer.
Yeah, no, it's a famous designer.
Not sure you want to snort Nolan.
Yeah. So we basically we take the ashes over there, and then the idea was that we were going to put Nolan in the Mediterranean because Nolan loved going to Saint-Tropez. He would spend the summers at Joan Collins' house. Joan Collins was his muse. It was his best friend. And so Joan said, we'll bring him over this summer, and we'll go out on Joyce and Simon Rubin's yacht. They have this gorgeous 200-foot yacht, and we'll go out there and we'll scatter his ashes in the Mediterranean. Well, we didn't have a permit to do it. And she said that, Joan said, don't worry about it. We'll just take it out. No one will know. Well, okay, so we go out that day. We go to this beautiful, tranquil, turquoise water, bay, and we we're jumping in the water. We're playing with the jet skis. We're doing all this stuff. Well, another yacht comes by like 30 minutes later, and they said, there's an Italian paparazzi over there that's been taking photographs of you guys this entire time.
But you didn't have Nolan. You didn't dump Nolan.
No, we had not dumped Nolan yet. We had him on the yacht. And because we were going to make a little ceremony out of it and a nice afternoon, and not just jump out there and dump him and that's it. We made a whole day out of it. Well, so...
But the paparazzi were really just interested in seeing Joan Collins in a bathing suit. I mean,
exactly.
That's what I'd be interested in. I mean, how old is she now?
She's 81 years old.
She still looks pretty good.
She looks amazing.
But I don't know if I want to see her in a bathing suit.
Well, she actually looks pretty good in a bathing suit. You'd be surprised. I mean, she's, runs around in stiletto heels, and, she's got her hair done in full makeup. She honestly, I tell everybody this because everybody says the same thing. My friends give me a hard time. They're like, God, you need to start hanging out with some younger women. And I say...
That is true, though.
Yeah, it's probably true.
Because you're hanging out with me now. So.
But you are younger than Joan Collins. Come on.
Yeah, a little bit.
But no, everybody will sit there and they tease me and give me a hard time. I said, listen, you guys, nobody lives life more than Joan Collins. And she jet sets. She truly lives a life like a movie star. We used to make clothes for Elizabeth Taylor, who was a huge movie star, bigger than Joan Collins. But Elizabeth Taylor was like Michael Jackson. They were like recluse, and they just lived in their houses. They didn't go anywhere or do anything.
Yeah, Joan is everywhere.
So
did you get to do the ashes? You finally didn't get to do them in the water,
No, we didn't,
though.
because this other yacht came by, and they said, the paparazzi's been over there taking photographs of you guys. And then Jones right away said, we can't do this because, A, it's illegal. We don't have the permits, and we're going to get in trouble, and we'll get the Rubens in trouble because it's their yacht. So we ended up taking Nolan back to her house. We did a little ceremony, and we put Nolan in her rose garden. So
that's nice.
Kind of bittersweet, yeah.
That's very nice. So, well, as we move through the shows in future podcasts, because you are with Mark Zunino in couture and you get all this fashion stuff, you're going to be talking to us about how we can get those couture looks for less.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Mark Zunino's actually got a QVC line too.
We've got a line on QVC that we've been associated with QVC since 1992.
Through Nolan.
Yeah, through Nolan. We had the Nolan Miller Glamour Collection jewelry that ran from 1992 to 2011. It was like 19 years.
Wow.
And we had a big run. And then we switched over from clothing, and we phased that out. And then we introduced the Mark Zunino, it's called the Mark of Style on QVC. And we make separate tops and skirts and dresses, dresses for $100. We make this amazing leather jacket for like $250.
Well, you know what? On a future show, we're going to have Mark come on. And,
absolutely,
and talk to us about fashion, especially as fall, comes around the corner. Well, you had far more an exciting summer than I did. All I did this summer is I've been remodeling this house. And we have a house on Bayside Drive in Newport Beach. It's right on the water. We're getting ready to sell it.
I've been there. It's
yes,
nice. Yeah.
It's a really nice house.
Good
but
times
it needed
there.
a facelift, like anything else. You know, a little nip and tuck is always good.
We're going to talk about plastic surgery too.
Yes, we should.
Because we can relate to this.
We can relate to that. And so I've spent this whole summer trying to get this house fixed up between sanding floors, wood floors, and paint. And one of the biggest things that all my friends had said who are decorators and designers, floors and paint are the big thing that will sell your house. So I had my own troubles with paint, but we have on the line now our first guest, which is Geoff Lainge, and Jeff's from mygaydecorator.com because, I mean, you need a gay decorator.
Who doesn't need one?
Right. And so he's going to start to talk to us about the top mistakes people make in my position with painting and colors. And Geoff, are you there?
I am. Hey, Barbara. Hi, Renee.
Hey. So you are in Columbus, Ohio, and you're currently working with KP Designs and Associates. And I guess you just finished working on the showcase home for the Building Industries Association Parade of Homes?
Yeah, every year the BIA here in Columbus puts on what they call the Parade of Homes. And the builders in the community will each build a showcase house. And then in turn, each showcase house is decorated by someone that the builder gets. So this year, KP, well, they've been doing it for years, but this year with KP, we did Trinity Homes' house. So I was lucky enough to be given 3 rooms in this house to help decorate.
Wow. Well, you know, we were just talking about how, I mean, Renee spent a very exciting summer vacation with Joan Collins in Saint-Tropez, but I spent it trying to renovate my Bayside Drive house. So we're talking about painting. Give me some painting pointers and pitfalls.
Well, you know, it's so funny because I was listening to your story, and Renee had a much more fun, it sounds like, summer than we did. But, you know, I was reflecting on what you were talking about with your house. And, you know, one of the things that I've noticed that people will often do is, you know, they'll have the idea of updating a home, and they'll start with paint, and then they'll try to get the rest of the pieces to match the paint for the house. And, you know, paint comes in an infinite number of colors, so I always suggest to the clients to pick some key pieces of furniture first and then pick the paint, because there's nothing worse than going into a store, you know, with the paint that you've fallen in love with, but you can't find any, you know, any upholstered pieces that will then fit in the room together.
Well, in my case now, I'm not staging this house, so I'm updating it to sell it. And when I went into the paint store, I said, what is your most popular paint right now? And they told me that gray is like the new white. And everybody wants to paint their interior walls gray. So I thought, okay, that's fine. But then, do you know how many colors of gray there are? I spent days painting different walls in one room, swatches of gray, because there's gray blues, there's grays that have greens in them. And so I just basically said, well, what do you sell the most of?
Right.
And to take it. So are you finding that gray is the new white? Beige?
Yeah, exactly. You know, gray's a great color, and like you said, Barbara, you have to be aware of what the undertone is. You know, is it a blue undertone? Is it green? Does it have brown? You know, there's some beautiful, beautiful grays. You know, people traditionally think gray as being a cold color, but there are some beautiful, beautiful grays that have a brown underhue that are very warm and very inviting.
So another tip that we were talking about before we went on air was skipping the prep work. That's another problem that people have, and they don't do it properly, and that's a mistake they make. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, sure. I mean, you know, we get all excited because we've done the work. We now have picked out the paint color, and we want to, you know, get the paint on the walls immediately. And, you know, we all love a shortcut. But, you know, in painting, that's really kind of a disaster. And you'll see it. You'll be in someone's home, and you'll notice the switch plate covers or, you know, a little paint on them, or there'll be paint splatters on, you know, some of the floor or even on the chrome work or bright work in the bathroom. And, you know, a lot of that's just not taking the time to remove the pieces you can, mask where you can. And then the other part is the prep on the walls. You know, depending on the paint you're using, it's very important to make sure that you have a really good surface that you're painting on. the more reflective the paint, the more careful you have to be about what the wall condition is that you're painting on.
Now, the other thing that I know I had a lot of trouble with was picking the right paint finish. Gloss versus semi-gloss, satin, eggshell, flat. I'm like, I just want paint,
It's like I picked the color. Why are you making me make more choices?
Right, there's too many choices. So is there a rule of thumb as to when to use what?
I mean, there is. Usually it comes down to durability and the wear and tear and the cleaning you're going to be doing on the surface. That's why traditionally you'll see cabinets or door moldings or places that get a lot of, not hopefully foot traffic, but hand traffic, will be painted in a gloss paint so it's easy to clean. Bathrooms, kitchens, where, we sometimes splatter stuff. You'll want something that can wipe down. And then rooms that don't require a lot of maintenance, bedrooms, dining rooms in some cases, you can go with a flat paint, and that's great. But, Barbara, when we talk about paint choices and finishes, we painted a bathroom here with a semi-gloss, and we thought, oh, it's a brand new home, the walls should be perfect. And, we were horrified to see that all the dings showed up. And we thought it was a perfect wall. So that was a big surprise.
So another thing is when we're doing with paint colors, gray is popular, we know that. But then there are the jewel tones. And so should we take like one wall and make it a bright color, or do you make the bright color on the ceiling? Or, if you want to get creative, or should I just stay away from that and just go with the gray?
You know what? It's going to be your home and you're going to be living in it. Generally speaking, I would do probably one accent wall in a house. It can be a contrasting color.
Yeah,
it can be a wall that you've had someone do some, faux painting on, if you wish. When it comes to the ceiling color, usually it's safest to keep it white or go with a half tone or a quarter tone of what you've picked for the wall, just so it has a cohesive feel and it isn't quite the stark difference between the wall and the ceiling color.
Well, thank you so much. We're sitting here in the studio, and Rene just pulled up that Candy Spelling's home was just sold. And what did it sell for?
Well, it sold back in 2011 for $85 million to Petra Ecclestone. She is the heiress of the Formula One car, and she's putting it back on the market now for $150 million. So, hey, that's a good deal, huh?
Yeah, and I bet you she's got a lot of walls to paint.
Flip that mansion.
Flip that mansion.
Flip and dip that house, right? Yeah, there you go.
Well, now, you know what? You had a very good tip about buying paint, untinted. Tell me a little bit about that. That's a real good tip.
Well, it was just so funny because, oftentimes we want to paint our homes, but paint can be expensive. When you start looking at an entire home, when you're paying, $40, $50 a gallon for paint, one of the things that we've learned here is that you can purchase paint, and we buy most of our paint from Sherwin-Williams. You can buy it untinted. So, buy 2 or 3, buy 4 gallons, when they're having their 40% off sale. Stick it in the basement, don't open it up, and then when you're ready to paint and you know the color you want, you take the paint back and they will tint the paint for you and shake it up and mix it, and it's all part of the service.
Wow, so untinted paint will last for how many years?
They were saying, I called them just to confirm this, they said 1 to 2 years, no problem if you leave the can sealed.
Really?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Who knew?
Wow. Well,
We're getting some good tips.
We are getting some good tips.
Something else for us to hoard now. We can hoard paint.
Right.
Those hoarders out there, they're going to go nuts, right?
Well, thank you so much, Geoff, for checking in with us. That's mygatedecorator.com. And we're going to hear more from Geoff in future episodes, future podcasts. So we're going to bye now, Geoff.
See you later, Geoff.
Well, that's interesting. You know, I didn't know you could keep paint for that long.
Who knew?
I know.
Right? That's
I actually was
crazy.
cleaning out the garage the other day and found some empty paint cans and thought, oh, wow. And when I opened them, they were just like all the paint had solidified it, and it was kind of crazy.
It separates too.
Yeah, it
doesn't
separates.
Yeah.
It was nasty. It smelled. Well, so now that I'm almost finished with this house, one of the things that I'm having to do, Renee, is I guess people are seeing that I'm, redoing my house and then I'm going to put it up for sale. So I have like tons of business cards from realtors that are asking me, when I'm ready, would you consider listing your house with me? And I don't even know where to begin. And so on the phone, in fact, she just visited me. She just went home yesterday from Las Vegas, is Fafie Moore, and she's the president of Realty Executives of Nevada. And actually, I bought my home in Las Vegas from Fafie. Her and her husband Geoff have the business, and I was telling her because I brought her down in the house. And I was saying, how do I pick a realtor? And so, Fafie, are you with us?
I'm absolutely here, Barbara, and I've enjoyed the show so far. It's great. I'm learning things myself.
Oh, all right. Hey, Fafie. Fafie in the house.
Yeah. So, Fafie, we were just talking about this when you were visiting me over the weekend, and we went to the Orange County Fair, by the way. Tell me give me some tips on how do I find the right realtor? What should I do? What should I stay away from?
Okay, first thing, you want to make sure you give them a chance to give you a presentation. So schedule an appointment so they come. Otherwise, they're just telling you the things they want you to know, and you're not getting a chance to really ask them questions. So first of all, schedule a time to meet with them and tell them you expect them to come prepared. Then you want to know, how are you going to market my home? And why did you pick that way to market it? Like if you're going to put it on the internet, why? And why did you pick those websites?
Now, we talk about the internet. The last realtor that I spoke to had this plan and was doing all this print advertising. Meanwhile, I think the internet is stronger for marketing. Are you agreeing with that?
Well, statistically, the National Association of Realtors did a study. 94% of the buyers go to the internet before they select a home or a realtor. So 9 out of 10 buyers are on the internet before they ever do anything else. So internet is critical, which is another thing you want to ask them about because your home is going to first be seen on the internet. So are they using a professional photographer, or how are they taking the pictures? Are they going to have a virtual tour? How is your home going to be seen when it's first seen, which is on the internet?
Now, we talk about, obviously we have to look at the fair market value in the area. But sometimes it's not apples and apples when they're comparing that.
No, and that's one of the questions. You need to be sure to ask them, what are you using for comparisons? Are you considering both availables and solds? Because you want to see what's available on the market and what's already sold. And then you need to ask them, what's the average days on the market for homes in my price range? A $200,000 home is going to sell a lot faster, especially in California, than a $5 million home. So what is the difference in the amount of time I might expect for it to take to sell my home? Because that's an important question. So when you're looking at that, and you want to make sure that they're comparing houses that are similar. Like, Barbara, your house is on the water. You don't want comparables that are not on the water. That water is a big factor in the value of your home.
Now, are there things that I shouldn't say when I'm interviewing a realtor?
Yes. Definitely there are some things you want to put a filter on. When people say, well, don't bring me any offers that aren't at list price. You want to see all offers, and in every single state, the realtors are required to present all offers to you. I always say people don't know whether they're going to get a good deal unless they try to steal something. So you let them try to steal it, and then you see if they want to negotiate to a reasonable price. That's the other thing that the National Association of Realtors has found, that sellers really want a realtor that has the ability to negotiate, because you really need somebody that can take a low offer and negotiate it up to a price that you're comfortable with.
So should I be telling, people will ask, well, why are you selling your home? What don't we say?
Well, you don't tell them, I'm selling my home because I'm getting divorced. You don't tell them that you're selling your home because, we've had lots of financial problems. They don't. Why you're selling your home is really not important. You're selling your home because you're going to get a new home. It doesn't matter if you're selling it because you're getting divorced or you're selling it just because you found a bigger, better house you want. If you give them reasons that sound like desperate events, then you're soliciting people that want to steal your house. So it's just not a good idea. Don't tell them information that you don't want everybody to know.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I've had a couple of I have all these realtors who are calling me, and I've had a couple who work in teams. Is hiring a team better than just a single person?
Well, it depends on how the team functions. Now, sometimes teams can be very good, but you may be interviewing a particular realtor, and that may be the only time you'll ever see them. After you sign the paperwork, you're like, okay, where did they go? And all you've got is administrative people that you're constantly talking to, and that might be frustrating to you.
So we want to make sure that the person that we sign with is the person who's really going to show the house and show up, whenever.
They're going to be there, and especially are they the one that's going to be available? The most important thing on a higher-end property is they should be present to show the house, because there are so many people that walk in and go, oh, okay, well, just look around and tell me if you like it. And that's not what you want on a valuable asset. You want someone that is there to point out that this is our new wine cooler, this is the dock out here, explain all the features of the home, and increase the value of the home in the eyes of that buyer. So that's why you really want a good person there when the houses are being shown.
Now, Fafie, when somebody says, hey, will you sell my house, do you walk through their house and say to them, well, here are ways that you can improve the value of your home? And what are some simple ways sellers can improve the value of their home?
Absolutely. And if you have a realtor that doesn't want to come to your home and doesn't want to meet with you, you need to make sure they come and see the home. One of the biggest things is declutter. Any price range, any size home, declutter. Because if the counters are all full of all sorts of stuff, I don't care if you are a world traveler and these are all your tchotchkes, you need to put them away, because people will be distracted and they won't notice the bones of the house.
Yeah, those will become an eyesore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then people form opinions about them. They're like, why would they go here? And then they start asking questions. So you want your house to look like the equivalent of what a model home looks like. And if you are not...
Keep it vanilla, right?
Yeah, well, we call it neutralizing them.
So we should take our Barbie collection and put it away.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because
take all that crap off your refrigerator. You know how people are always posting things with magnets and children's. I mean, that's not crap, but artwork from the kids and all that.
Right.
You got to clean those refrigerators down.
So Renee brings up an important point. Should we take anything personal, like pictures, family pictures, and take all that away too?
Oh, yes. In fact, one of my favorites, one time I went over to list a house, and they had magnificent boudoir pictures throughout the house of the wife. And I think it was safe to say that her husband was probably more appreciative of these pictures than other people would have been.
Okay.
I had to explain that they would be a distraction, because everybody would want to stop and look at them, and they, again, would miss the house. Take your pictures down, because they don't need to know everything about your family and, everything else. It's just they're not buying your family. They're buying your house. As gorgeous as your grandchildren are, they don't increase the value of your home.
Now, Fafie, tell me, you're in Las Vegas. How's the real estate market in Las Vegas right now?
Well, we're really looking much better, because we went down a total of 62% from the height of the market to the bottom of the market, which, for people that don't know, was actually 2009. Was when we really started bottoming out, and we've been gradually crawling back.
Good.
Yeah, we're gradually making, we're gradually coming back now. Last year, 2013, we got a 30% gain. This year we've been much slower, which is good, because if we kept going at that pace, we really would have been in trouble.
Well, we don't want it too crowded there.
No, we don't.
Well, thank you, Fafie, for checking in from Las Vegas and giving us our real estate report. And we will be talking to you on the next podcast.
Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, Renee. Bye-bye.
Hey, take care. Bye-bye.
Well, Renee, when you get involved with whether it be any kind of contract, whether you're dealing with the realtor or the paint guy or anything, there's always the chance that things are not going to go well, which could lead you down the road to suing each other and being in court. And especially when you're renovating a house, it's really kind of tough. So we don't want to wind up in court. And on the phone now, we have our legal eagle, Frank Mickadeit. And Frank is a litigation associate and lawyer with Greenberg and Gross in Orange County. Frank received his law degree this year from Chapman University. And before he became a lawyer, Frank was an award-winning journalist and worked with me at the Orange County Register. He'd been there for more than 2 decades. And boy, there's millions of people who used to read Frank. I miss his column. He did a column every day, and I miss it a lot. But now he is working as a lawyer. And Frank, are you there on the phone with us?
I am. Good afternoon, Barbara.
Hey, you're on here with me and my co-host, Rene Horsch.
Hey, Frank.
Renee.
And
Hi.
today's topic, Frank, we're going to talk about getting it in writing.
Right. Well, it never ceases to amaze me how many people enter into serious big money contracts and they don't get it in writing. And this was, and they're just willing to take the word of the person across the table from them that they're going to get paid for what they do, or the other person's going to somehow otherwise perform their end of the deal.
Well, so whatever happened to the good old handshake, I mean, isn't that considered an oral contract? Am I not supposed to trust anybody anymore?
Well, an oral contract is valid in a lot of situations.
If you record it, right?
Pardon?
If you record it, then it becomes legal?
Well, an oral contract, if you record it, it by definition becomes a writing. Do you mean oral? You mean tape recording?
Yeah, like if you have your iPhone and you press your record button, you can actually record the conversation. So, would that be considered like a legal contract?
You could. That would be proof of it. That would be certainly proof of an oral contract. And what I was going to say is that oral contracts generally are valid. They're just much harder to prove, or they can be much harder to prove. If you're going to go to the trouble of recording something, you should go ahead and get it in writing, I would say. And by the way, in many states, California included, you can't just push the record button unless the other person knows they're being recorded. So both parties have to know they're being recorded, at least in California. So it would make sense just to go ahead and get it all in writing. There are some contracts, however, that have to be in writing. You cannot have a contract, for example, to do something that's going to take you beyond 12 months to accomplish, or by the terms of the contract are going to take more than 1 year to accomplish. Any real estate or lease for more than a year, any kind of real estate transaction has to be in writing. And, of course, wills and trusts and all those kinds of testamentary documents have to be in writing, and a few other things. But by and large, you can enter into a pretty serious business or employment agreement on a handshake, and then get cheated. And we just had a case that I worked on in which 2 longtime friends. One cheated the other out of millions of dollars. There was a doctor who owned a chain of clinics in Southern California. He hired his longtime best friend to be the manager, or essentially the chief operating officer of those clinics, and with the promise, the oral promise, that if the clinics were sold because of the COO's efforts, he would get 10% of the sales price of these clinics. And he worked
that
there
didn't
about
happen.
4 years. Yeah, that's right. It didn't happen. The clinic sold for $45 million, and our client went looking for his $4.5 million, and the guy wouldn't pay him. In fact, he said the contract didn't exist. So we had to go to court and prove up the existence of this oral contract. Now, there was also a written contract entered into later that the defendant claimed was a forgery. So we went into court actually trying to prove both. There was an oral and later a written contract. But to focus on the oral contract, yeah, we had to put on evidence that this contract existed, and it was complicated by the fact that the defendant did not use email.
So
he didn't even leave a paper trail, really, of him promising this oral contract. But fortunately for us, and fortunately for our client, he did, during this 4-year period, make reference several times in front of other people, in front of third parties, that, yeah, I'm going to pay this guy 10%.
So that's how you got it through.
That's how we proved it. We had to bring. I think we brought five of those people into court to testify.
Well, good thing the guy was chatty. If he wasn't chatty, he'd be screwed.
Right.
So, Frank, when you say write it down, I mean, if I just take a piece of paper and says I agree to this and do you agree to that, and we just sign it, that's better than nothing, right?
Well, that's better than nothing, but there are some essential terms you want on that contract. You want to say. At a minimum, you want to have the names of the two parties. You want to have what one party is promising and what the other party is promising in return, which is called consideration. So I promised to do X, and in return, you promised to give me Y. Signed, dated. I mean, that's better than nothing. I mean,
better than nothing.
On a napkin is better than nothing.
So we don't wind up in court or even in small claims court. Just as long as, because I watch the People's Court,
I love the People's Court. And Judge Judy, she's awesome.
Yeah,
she kicks butt.
And Judge Judy always says, get it in writing, and that's what Frank's telling us. Well, thank you so much, Frank, from Greenberg and Gross, for checking in and being our legal eagle today.
You're most welcome.
All right, we'll check back with you again, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, and so we've got another caller.
God, really, our phones are just blowing up today.
Our phones are blowing up today. Yeah. Well, the next caller is from Ohio, and it's Dee W Ieye, my favorite drag queen, Tupperware lady. Dee, are you there?
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you? Now, Dee, was the #1 Tupperware salesperson in the country. How many years running?
4 years in a row, 2007 to 2010.
And how are things in the trailer park, Dee?
Very good. We're selling lots of Tupperware here in Ohio.
Are you?
All right. Dee, get it. Yeah.
Now, Dee, you just wrote a new book.
I did. It's very exciting that I'm in print.
So tell us about the Confessions of a Drag Queen Tupperware Lady.
Well, it's the stories of me becoming a Tupperware lady in Los Angeles and then moving my trailer to Ohio and still selling more Tupperware than anybody in the nation. It's crazy.
Wow.
So,
how do you go from Hollywood back to Ohio?
Yeah.
I know. Isn't it
supposed to be the other way around?
A lot of people wonder why I did that, but I just had to get out of Los Angeles. It's crazy.
It's crazy town.
Well, I would imagine that in Ohio there are not many drag queen Tupperware ladies, and in L.A. you probably can't spit without hitting one.
In Los Angeles, you could swing a dead cat and kill 4. So out here, it's a lot better for me.
You can dodge those cats. Yeah.
Well, Dee was out here. Was it in January you were here for the L.A. That L.A. book show?
Yes, at the where were we? At that campus, that huge campus. We were walking around in the summer sun.
We were walking around, and Dee was promoting her book.
At UCLA.
UCLA, yes.
That's a great campus.
And then she had my dog Stasha with her to attract some attention. So it was kind of funny because she's got kind of a Dolly Parton look. Yes.
Yeah, because she's so subtle. She needed a little more attention.
Yes, just trying to blend. Well, we've done, when Dee is in California, we always get together. And one of the things that I love about Dee is Dee loves to cook, which I hate to cook. And now that the summer parties are here, I don't want to turn the stove on. I don't want to turn the oven on. But you have a great little peanut butter pie recipe that we can do without actually cooking.
Yes, because you know what? In the summertime, you do not want to put the oven on to make the pecan pie. That's November. And in the summertime, you turn the stove on and it gets too hot in the trailer. So this is a no-bake peanut butter pie, which is delicious.
So what do we need to make the peanut butter pie?
Well, Well, you have to go to the little Piggly Wiggly or wherever you're buying your groceries, and you need to get yourself a pre-made pie crust. Now, that could be a graham cracker crust or a Oreo chocolate crust.
Oh, I didn't know they made Oreo chocolate crust.
Oh, my God, it's delicious, all right? And then you need yourself 1 package of cream cheese, 1 tub of the whipped topping, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 cup of creamy peanut butter, not the chunky. It has to be creamy.
Okay.
And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's all you need to make this pie.
And then you just mix it all together in a bowl and put it in there, and that's it?
Remember, we did it on our little Cooking Bits and Bites, which we can tell people to look up the little recipe on the internet.
Oh, that's right. We did it. It was called Cooking Bits and Bites, and it's on YouTube. And we actually did this about a year ago, right?
Yeah, with a little peanut butter pie, and it's on. You can see Barbara and I doing it on the little YouTube. But you want to cream the cream cheese and the sugar together with the peanut butter with the little twirly whirlers. What do you call that? The little hand mixer, right?
Okay.
Thing. And then add a little bit of vanilla extract, and then you use half of the tub of the whipped cream, not the whole tub, half of the tub, and you fold that in together with all of the sugar and the peanut butter and the cream cheese, and you put that into the pie.
Okay.
Right? And then you reserve the second half of the tub of whipped cream to ice the top of the pie.
Oh.
And then you put it in the refrigerator, and you need to chill it for a couple hours. It's going to be hard because you're going to want to eat this thing right away, y'all.
Right. So, but we're going to resist that, and we're going to leave it overnight.
Yes, leave it overnight because you want that sugar in there to dissolve. You don't want it to be granulated, and it'll be like eating like a sand pie. That is not delicious.
Oh, okay, okay.
You want the sugar to get all melted in there, and then serve it the next day, and it's just amazing. It's so good.
Wow.
Now, okay, so I'm actually going to try this over the weekend, and I will report back, and we will have this recipe on a website.
Yeah, that sounds great. You're giving Martha Stewart a run for her money. I love it. Oh, did we lose her?
I think we lost Dee. We lost Dee for a minute. But Dee comes out every year in October from Ohio.
At your, Halloween parties.
Right. She used to come out for Halloween. And are you back, honey? Do we have Dee? Oh, we lost Dee. And she'll be back again this October for Best in Drag, which is a benefit for Aid for AIDS in Los Angeles.
Yes, I've heard of that. Yeah,
Yes,
it's like one of the big ones,
It's
right?
a big one, and it's the funniest thing you've ever seen because it's drag queens and it's a beauty pageant, but there's also a talent show, and they have celebrity judges, and it's a huge thing, and they raise hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for Aid for AIDS, and I've gone several years, and Dee is one of the
judges.
No, she's actually one of the co-hosts of the event.
Oh,
she's an MC.
Wow, that's great.
Yes,
She's like a hostess with the mostest.
She is, and she's always super glamorous because she has the big wig on, and she's over 6 feet. But she does get out of the trailer park just to do Aid for AIDS every year.
That's great. So she makes it come back here in LA. I like it.
Yes. And then, there's all these Tupperware people, her clients, who miss her and want to see her. Her Tupperware shows are absolutely hysterical.
Oh my God, I've never been to one, but we should go. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, the next time she's out, I have to start bringing her to Vegas so that she can be drag queen Tupperware in Vegas. I have not seen anything like that in Las Vegas, if you can believe it. And pretty much you see everything in Vegas.
Yeah. Oh my God, she'd be perfect in Vegas, right?
Yes, I keep telling her that.
Big hair,
but
bright lights,
I
right?
know, but it's hard to get her out of the trailer park. Well, I'm waiting for our next guest to check in with us. It's Dr. Jorge, and Dr. Jorge should be with us shortly. Dr. Jorge Rodriguez has been my doctor, but now he's moved from Orange County in Newport Beach, and now he's in Beverly Hills because he's going totally Hollywood. He has written several books. Well, he's coming out with a new book. Dr. Jorge is not with us yet, so we're going to...
He's written a new book?
He's written a new book called The Diabetes Solution. So we'll get back to him when he checks in with us. But this has been fun.
Oh my God!
We've had so many people call us.
I can't
this
believe
is
it.
just great. I'm loving this whole podcast thing. And speaking of podcasts, we've got the queen of cannabis baking of Orange County, Patti Cakes, on the phone. And Patti has been doing a podcast forever on hempradio.com, right, Patti?
Thank you so much. Yes, Barbara, that is correct. And thank you for inviting me to your first podcast. I'm so excited for you.
Well, we're just novices here, but we've had some fun today. And so, because marijuana is becoming legalized in so many states, we thought we needed to have a pot report, Patti.
Okay, well, 23 legal medical marijuana states plus D.C. 2 states are medical and recreational.
And what states are those?
Pardon me?
What states are those?
The 23...
No, where is it legal medically and recreationally?
Colorado and Washington State.
Well, we were just talking with Fafie Moore from Las Vegas. She was giving us real estate tips. And Las Vegas now is starting the medical marijuana licenses. And
yes.
If there's any city that could really handles vice as well, I mean, they handle prostitution, gambling,
they would
alcohol.
Be the state to do it, right?
That's right. Let's talk a little bit about what Las Vegas did made it a little different.
Well, I think when Las Vegas did their process, they did it intelligently and they did their due diligence. And they got the right people on board. They're looking at it as a business. And like you said, Barbara, what state better to regulate? They've done prostitution. They do gambling. I mean, they know how to do it. So I looked at their rules, and they're very basic. But I think what they did was they put together a program. You can only live in that state in order to have a dispensary or a collective there. Like you see people in other cities in California that live somewhere else. And I mean, at one point they were on every corner here. And
right. We had some trouble with that in Costa Mesa, in fact, as you know, because everybody and his brother were opening one. And in Las Vegas, that's not the case because they were only giving, 10 licenses out, I think?
I think they did 18.
18.
I think they did 18. But what they did was they established rules and regulations. In California, they said, okay, medical marijuana is legal and you could open a dispensary.
Right.
They didn't give you rules and regulations.
Well, I think the popularity of using cannabis for certain medical issues, especially as the baby boomers get older, is a really important thing to take a look at. I mean, I'm seeing shows on CNN, mainstream media now, that's talking about the benefits of cannabis.
Right, and I think that what was the 2 people that were very instrumental lately were Dr. Sanjay Gupta and Dr. Oz. I mean, those are the gurus for your everyday American. They believe what these people say. Well, these people came out and said, your government's been lying to you. It does have medical value. And they did their due diligence. And more people are beginning to understand. They have access to research. They have access to all kind of data. And, hopefully more and more people will do that.
Now, I know that you have patients. You make medical marijuana brownies and sunshine bars.
Yes.
And tell me about the average patient that you take care of.
They're all over 55. They're all baby boomers. I would say half of them has never tried any form of it in their life, but somebody recommended it because they were going through chemotherapy. They had MS, Crohn's disease. I mean, there's a lot of older people have sleep disorders. And I would say, 60% of the people that I see are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that use it just to sleep.
So, I mean, it's not like anybody can just take pot and cook it up. I mean, there's a process that you have to do in order to use it in food.
Right. And you know what? Today's Monday, and that's when I do my oil, and that's what I'm doing today. It takes me 10 to 12 hours to do it just to make the butter.
Wow.
Just to make the butter.
Wow.
I didn't know you could do butter. That's pretty cool.
And you also make the brownies. You use sugar in them, and then you also use a sugar substitute for those people that can't have sugar.
Correct. There are people that, a lot of older people get diabetes. And I say older, but, that's like my age. you know what I'm saying? I'm
right.
in that group, too. But a lot of people, can't eat sugar. So, there's all ways, like whether they're gluten-free or sugar-free. We try to satisfy everybody's needs.
Well, thank you so much, Patti, for checking in with us and giving us our part report. That's Patti from Patti Cakes, and you can listen to her at hempradio.com. Patti, how many shows have you done on Hemp Radio?
106.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Patti, you rock and roll. That's
She
great.
does.
Yeah.
She rocks it.
I love it. I love it. But you know what? There's more people to talk to because there's too many idiots out there that need to be educated.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you, my dear. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great talking to you, Patti.
You're welcome. Same here, and have
All right.
a great rest of the day.
Okay, we'll talk to you next time.
Okay.
Wow.
Bye-bye.
Well, so you see, there's so many different people who've checked in with us.
Oh, we've
Oh
got
my
like a little
gosh.
cornucopia of
Yeah.
like different viewpoints.
You
and
just
things to
never
discuss.
know where it's going to take you. And Dee is actually checking in with us on Facebook.
Oh, she is. All right.
And so
How's she doing?
she says that she saw our post about that she, just got off the air there. We had a little bit of a glitch there, but she's not feeling badly about it. And she says that she will be back on with us in future shows. And we love Dee W Ieye. She's got a great story behind her. And Confessions of a Drag Queen Tupperware Lady. I actually got her book, and you can buy it on Amazon.com or any, what's the other one? The other big bookseller.
Borders? Is it
Borders,
Borders?
yeah.
And Barnes & Noble.
BarnesandNoble.com. And she just has a really incredible story because she is really he, obviously, and Kevin Farrell. And Kevin was an actor in Los Angeles. And, most actors, struggling actors, just get jobs as waiters.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that they can go on auditions. And so Kevin came up with the idea of being a drag queen Tupperware lady, selling Tupperware.
That's brilliant, actually.
And then a friend of his suggested, hey, why don't you do it in drag like I'm doing it? And his friend Oscar... And so he decided to do it like Oscar was doing it. And the next thing he knew, his business just exploded.
That's amazing. Well, I think it's really a creative way of doing it because if you think about it, I'm sure that with all the other people that are out there doing it and the competition, it separates him from all the other Tupperware. They're the true, real Tupperware ladies, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because as I saw his business grow, he reminded me of a real life Tootsie. That movie with Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, right. I remember that. It was a great movie.
And so he's just a real life Tootsie. And in order for you to be, when I was writing for the Orange County Register, I wrote an article about the top Tupperware salespeople in the country. And the top 3 were drag queen Tupperware people.
That's
there
incredible.
Was Aunt Barbara from New York. And then, of course, Dee. And the other one was Oscar, and I'm losing Oscar's name, drag name. But it was amazing to me. They had their convention in Anaheim, and I was covering it. And the top 3 were drag queen Tupperware ladies.
Well, the wild thing is Tupperware's been around for, 50 years?
Oh, forever.
So can you imagine what the founder of Tupperware, if that person's still
Probably
alive,
rolling over in their grave.
and probably thinking these are the 3 top salespeople in the country. What does that say?
Quesadilla, that's the
Right.
name. Thank you, Geoff Lainge, who just checked in on Facebook. The other drag queen was Quesadilla. Quesadilla, yeah.
That's great.
And so I just think it's
But
an
what does
amazing
that tell
way.
you, though? That's pretty amazing, and it's pretty incredible that the top 3 salespeople are drag queens. So
And that's to their credit that they
Yeah.
decided to take marketing and market a product that had been around forever in such a unique way. And those guys, you have to do 6 figures in order to get up into that top 3. So
Wow.
that is a heck of a lot of Tupperware.
So I don't think Dee's living in a trailer park, or she's living in a pretty fancy one,
I
huh?
think Dee's trailer has gotten far more fancy.
She's got a double
these
wide,
days.
huh?
Yes.
A couple of chandeliers and some marble flooring, huh?
I think so, but not as much as the Candy Spelling House. Oh my gosh!
Is that crazy? I know, that's 56,000 square feet, and I spent Christmas and Thanksgiving and most every holiday for 10 years in that home. And they were the most incredible, amazing parties that I had ever attended in Los Angeles. She's quite the hostess.
Well, where's she living now?
She's actually living in a building in Century City called The Century, and it's she's got the penthouse, and it's 16,000 square feet. I went last year she had her first cocktail party in May, and it was for a charity, and 16,000 square feet. It's got its own swimming pool, and it's really interesting because it literally looks like she took rooms from the manor and just like they were airlifted and plopped into that
And
condo.
her daughter's got a new TV show now.
Tori. And it's
with
about
the whole husband thing.
Yeah,
and he
it's
cheated
really,
on her.
It's so sad.
You know what? I
because
tried to watch it, and
it's disturbing, isn't it?
It was very disturbing.
Yeah.
Because he's begging to come back, and he's kind of a loser, and.
I mean, I think she could do so much better because
She could. Yeah.
I mean,
and the children
I don't
are
know
darling.
if I'd put up with all that, right?
I know.
Would you? No.
No, but and then it's also a weird thing. Why would you just display your family and probably a very dark episode in your life, your husband cheating in public and being in the Inquirer, and why would you just display yourself like that? That's kind of a crazy thing.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I think airing your dirty laundry, but then I don't know. I guess people like seeing that type of thing. So maybe that makes for good ratings.
Yeah, I guess so. But it was so nice. I mean, I remember when we first met, and I would come up to Miller Zunino at the time, and I got to meet Nolan. And I'll never forget the day that I don't know if he didn't have his glasses on, but he kept saying, I was by the coffee maker, and it's my favorite story about him. I was by the coffee maker, and he came over to me, and he said, "You just look great today. I don't know what you've changed, but you look great." And the wind-up was he thought I was Anne Margaret.
Anne Margaret. Oh, no way. That's a nice compliment, right?
Later in the afternoon, I found out that because of the red hair, and I don't know if
he
his
didn't have his glasses
medication
on,
was
maybe.
balanced or whatever. But all of a sudden, you said to me, "Well, you thought you looked so good because you look like Anne Margaret." But then I was thinking, okay, Anne Margaret's a whole lot older than me, so either she looks really good or I look really crappy that day.
No, she's another one that looks amazing. I mean,
because you still dress her.
Yeah, she's incredible. She is like the nicest. I mean, I've got some amazing clients. She's like one of the nicest women, and she was really amazing. But Nolan suffered lung cancer for 6 years and went through a lot of treatments and everything. And she was there every Saturday night. She and her husband Roger Smith were there to take Nolan out, and she's a really incredible woman.
Well, you know what's nice about what you and Mark have done over there is that you have been able to transition from really old Hollywood to new Hollywood.
Yeah,
and you never know who's going to be in your studio, which I always love to drop in when I go to Los Angeles.
Well, it's interesting because we were fortunate to have been able to dress these women from the golden era of Hollywood, and then today Mark dresses Angelina Jolie and Eva Mendes and Katy Perry, and so we have young Hollywood today that we're actually the divas of Hollywood, and it's quite exciting. I think
it is. It is.
So it is funny because we have the women that actually buy the clothes, and then we have the women that borrow the clothes.
Right.
Which that could be a whole other show.
Right, right. Well, I remember just recently you dressed, what was it, the housewife of Orange County there that got married?
Oh, Tamara Barney. Yeah, that was last year.
That was a beautiful dress.
Yeah, we got a lot of press on that, and that was a whole hour show that was, it was Tamara's wedding that
I
they
only
did.
watched that to see you and Mark.
Oh, really?
Because it was
delivering her dress in tank tops.
I thought my head was going to explode. I'd never watched that show before, The Real Housewives of Orange County, and I thought my head was going to explode. Because I live in Orange County, and I don't know anyone who
like
behaves or looks like these women.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
And I'm like, who are these people, right?
I don't know.
And then they get on television for a year, and everybody looks up to them as like, like they're like an actress or something. I don't know. It's crazy.
Newport Beach always gets a bad rap with the women, being a little flighty and overindulgent, but it was nothing like I saw in The Real Housewives of Orange County. That was terrible.
Yep.
Did at least they behave in your studio?
They did. I have to say that they all behaved very well, and we also
Would you tell us if they didn't?
Yeah, I would totally tell you if someone was. Hey, they're displaying the talk about dirty laundry. They throw their dirty laundry on that show every single week, right? They actually. I have to say they all were very, very nice to us and very. Again, it'd be foolish if they weren't nice to us because we're a really good source for these people.
Right. Exactly.
And if you're in the business to borrow dresses, then it's like, why would you not be nice to us? It would be pretty stupid if you weren't.
Well, I think on future shows you should get some of your glamour girls to actually come down here in the studio with us.
I will. I'll bring a special guest down. I'll work on. I've got, like I said, I've got like a whole Rolodex we can pull from. So
yeah, maybe we get Candy Spelling to come down.
Candy Spelling to come down.
I mean, she's always got a book coming out of her.
She's got a book, and Donna Mills is working on a book. Linda Evans has written a cookbook. Jackie Collins, she writes gazillion books. And,
she's got a lot of them.
Marla Thomas is writing books. Chelsea Handler's written books. Yeah, we could get a whole bunch. It'd be great.
Yeah, definitely.
I think so, right?
Definitely. Well, I think we're out of time on our first podcast.
Oh my God, I can't believe
that went so
just blew
fast.
by.
It did. Well, I had a lot of fun, Renee. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here. This is great.
And thank you to LA Radio for hosting us on our very first podcast. I'm Barbara Venezia.
I'm Rene Horsch.
And we'll see you next time, Living Out Loud.